Okay, so coming on live and trying to invite Kitty Rebellion on. We just had another check-in with Kitty, and she's been doing my Fit Goddess boot camp for the last 12 weeks. We're rounding out to the end of her time on the boot camp, in the boot camp, and talking about the results that she's had. So I'm just gonna give her a few minutes to come on, and I'll be running my boot camp. So if you are interested in the boot camp, it is a 12-week body recomposition program where women can lose fat, get stronger, but also break through any sort of mindset barriers and get a really great education on how to do it long term. And so that program is on sale right now. I'll be getting the link up for that, but you can check it out on my link in my bio, and I'll be running a special for that. And it's going to be running at a special price for the next till the end of December, and when it goes back up in January. So you can purchase it now and start in January if you want to get the sale price. But let's see if we can get Kitty on here. Let's see. We did it. Oh my goodness. I still don't understand how it works.
It said two of my friends were live right now, so I clicked on it.
Uh-huh.
And it brought me to you, so then I just sent you. It says two of your friends are live. Invite them to go live together. I have not seen this feature. I don't know. They do updates sometimes.
I don't know how any of this works. Okay, so I was just telling people that you are getting near the end of your time in the boot camp and talking about your experience. And I'm getting stuff up today about running the sale on the boot camp. And I am really excited to get a lot more women involved in this boot camp and you are like the quintessential story of how the boot camp operates and what you can get from it. And just hoping you can share a little bit more about that as you're getting to the end and you're like hitting all your goals and how this has been different for you.
This has been so eye-opening of where my belief system was not doing me any favors. That is what I'm learning, is you taught me to be more efficient. I thought I had to put in more time, more effort, more weight, more, and you were like, we're going to go like this. And I was like, I don't think that's enough. And you were like, you're going to be fine. And I did it, and a pound a week doing less.
Yep.
This is amazing.
And so we talked a lot about it, the fact that it isn't that oftentimes women aren't working hard trying to maintain or lose weight or whatever. It's just that they're working really hard in all the wrong areas. And so it becomes like using a screwdriver when you need a hammer. You can do that all day long, but it's not really going to get you where you need to go. And when we put things into the right balance as far as the nutritional programming and the training programming, it's been almost like watching someone like just virtually, not that it's easy. Obviously you're working at it, but you have just had successful week after successful week, even when you struggled through some of those times.
I had 2 Thanksgiving dinners and still lost weight. Like, I didn't know that was possible. Like I said, but you've taught me how to be more efficient with my food and my time and my energy. And the why around it. You take the time to explain why, because it feels like things are being taken away, but they're not. You're training us to be more efficient with our time, our energy, our money, our food. You're teaching us all of that. That's amazing. That's amazing to me.
Doing it in a way that supports your metabolism, because oftentimes what people will do if they're doing too much is they're undermining their metabolism and they're down regulating themselves into an impossible situation. And we don't want to do that. We want to be able to keep your metabolic fire going so that when you have 2 Thanksgivings, it doesn't automatically result in, a huge jump in weight. Right? And you've learned the skills you needed to learn so that you don't feel super restricted. So when you do have holidays, you don't feel like you got to go crazy because you haven't been like sitting and munching on celery for weeks.
And every time I would go on a diet, the restrictive you can't have, you can't have, you can't have, and then a holiday would come, and then I'd be like, I would eat everything in sight because, like you just said, they taught me to be restrictive. So when it was time to have some fun, I overdid it big
Right.
time.
Right.
This was not like that at all.
Well, and that's where I was telling you, I had another client who was sort of like, oh, I haven't really been putting that I've been having like a cup of popcorn, at the end of the day. It's like, well, first off, popcorn's fine, changing the belief system around that. And if that's something you enjoy, and clearly she had put a negative connotation to that, like just find a way to work it into your program. If I want to have a cup of popcorn at the end of the day every day, well, then let's work that into your nutritional programming. Because if you can't, if you are doing things that are causing you to be non-compliant with your nutritional programming, then we need to adjust something that helps you be compliant with that and still get to your goal. So you can't just eliminate every single thing you enjoy. I had someone go through the boot camp who had a piece of chocolate every day.
Because they worked it into the program.
And eventually she was like, you know what? I actually don't need this in my day every day. But it was never, she was like, oh, I can kind of draw, I don't really need this. But it was because of that, she didn't let herself get into a restrictive mindset around it. She made it okay. And then when we can do that, then we don't have that compulsion to, be bad or go off. We kind of get away from all of that language. I had someone else saying that, I don't want to post when I've had a bad day. I'm like, but here is the issue is that we're still calling it bad days, good days. And I neutralize all that. It's just a day. And it's just look at the data. How close to your targets did you get? If you didn't get very close, if you were kind of way off, why?
Talk about the why. It's not a shameful experience.
Right. And then that doesn't mean that tomorrow is has to be, good or bad. It just means tomorrow I might get closer because I have problem solved through some of my obstacles, which might be something around mindset and my belief system, or might be simply because I didn't prepare enough for my day. Like we can look at that information and have a more objective look at it instead of like, oh, today I failed and today I succeeded, or I was good, or I was bad. I'm trying to, pull all that shame out of that and like, what's the messaging? And a lot of times we find erroneous beliefs that we didn't know are operating in the background.
Yeah. Your problem solving skills. You taught me how to solve my problems when it comes to this. Diet culture has such a hold on women today. You understand women, you understand the pitfalls of diet culture, which women still subscribe to. And you took that all away. And you always explain it in a way that it's like ding, ding, ding. And once you know better, you can't go back.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why it's like, for me, that the Goddess Bootcamp, if you really do it, you can't go back. I mean, you could, but you'd know, right? Like you could maybe fool yourself. But once you know, And that's why I set it up that way. So eventually, if you have a part in your life where you're just not paying as much of attention and you start to see things go in a direction you don't want, you have all the skill set to know exactly how to bring it back into range. Mm-hmm. But most of the time people really don't know those things. So we've talked about when people say, oh, I know what to do, I'm just not doing it. And I'm here to say that you probably don't. Because every person I've ever asked and said, okay, tell me what you think you need to do to get to X, Y, or Z is usually off a bit. And sounds also the reason they're not doing it is because it sounds kind of miserable. So if you open yourself up like you did to like, okay, this seems counterintuitive to me. This isn't how I've normally done it, but I'm not having success on my own. And then you open yourself up to maybe I don't know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. You didn't shame me for not knowing. You're like, oh, you just don't know. So let me talk you through this. And that's what I've always needed, not somebody to tell me what to do. That's diet culture, the all or nothing. Well, I'm just not going to do anything then.
Well, or and tell me what to do. That makes it about you. Like if you're not having success, it's about you and something you're doing wrong, right? Yeah. And so then we take that all on ourselves. And diet culture doesn't teach us, to Well, most of the trends out there will give you erroneous science behind their things anyway. If you can just get to the basic science of how this works and you help people understand why, like right now for you, like why you don't want to be doing endless hours of cardio and why we wanted to focus more on strength training, now it makes sense to you.
It makes sense to me. And it's the learning. I'm confused. I'm doing this and not having success. And you take away the confusion around whatever issue a woman is having and she can't get to her goals. She feels like she can, but then she really doesn't have the tools and the skills, and that's where you come in. You give women the tools and the skills to succeed, no matter what that looks like to women. Like I said, I'm not coming to Zena to say, give me a six pack. That wasn't the goal. The goal, if you want a six pack, you can ask her how to do that. But I'm saying for me, that wasn't important. What was important to me was to feel good in my own skin, my own body, and feel some sense of control and have fun at the same time. Integrating those together.
Because you'd been doing a back and forth and you were like, I want to know how I do this, and I just maintain it, even when I'm not working at, out to do a triathlon or whatever, or, doing a triathlon and going, this didn't kind of equate to the body I thought I was going to get, or, all of those different things. And you wanting something that I want to get into the body that I just live in and can do these
how to just be on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. Because I would only know how to do some things if I had a specific physical goal, a 5K, whatever. Then I was good. But it's like, how do I just be okay in everyday life? I did not have the tools or the skills to just be okay on a daily basis, which you taught me how to do that.
And now you don't really need to do any training for your 5K.
I'm there. You're with there. Less running, with less cardio.
Less cardio.
With less cardio. And I'm a cardio junkie. And it wasn't benefiting me. I wasn't getting any faster. I wasn't getting the shape that I wanted. And I was running myself into the ground. So again, Zena taught me how to be more useful with my time, my energy, my food, all of it. I'm faster now than I was running cardio all day long.
I'm excited to see how your 5K turns out. And Kitty and I have some plans coming into the new year, because I haven't been really as vocal about my programming on my TikTok as I should be. So I'm going to be talking a lot more about it, sharing more recipes and things for people to get more protein in. But Kitty and I are setting up a schedule for January where we'll be coming on Sundays at 3 o'clock PST? Yes, 3 o'clock PST, coming on for a bit to dispel diet myths and talk about how you can have a healthy fitness routine that exists outside of the diet culture paradigm, setting your own standard of what it is you want to achieve, how you feel good in your body, and not subscribing to someone else's idea of how you should look or be or whatnot, and that you can kind of craft your own program around that. So
you let me be uncomfortable and let me know that you were still there. Because some of this is scary because we've never done it before. And you're there. Diet culture, for some people, is so comfortable. They just keep running back, right? They keep running back to diet culture because that's all they know. You are teaching something completely different. Something I have never experienced before in all my years of dieting. And I didn't realize I still had some diet culture brain that you broke through, that nobody else has been able to do. The trust.
And to let it be not one of the reasons diet culture works is because of the dopamine hit of that, like 10 pounds in 2 weeks or making it fast, which, that is been shown time and time again to not be sustainable or long-term or good for you, or it can shoot you, you can just kind of shoot yourself in the foot with that if you keep doing that over and over. And so the ability to allow it to be a little slower, like not expecting that 10 pounds in necessarily 2 weeks, but you've lost what, like?
I started at 177 and 164 now, so 13.
Yeah, so you've got 13 pounds down in basically 12 weeks.
Yep. Yep,
Yeah.
I got one more week to go.
And that's a much more sustainable weight because way to lose because now we know we're losing body fat. If we're losing 10 pounds in 2 weeks, we're not just losing body fat, we're losing muscle mass, which is not going to help us out as far as metabolism and keeping this going long term. So having that slower pace, allowing the pace to be a little bit slower, means you get to keep it off longer.
Well, I'm learning how to be.
Yeah.
And like I said, enjoy my day, enjoy my food, enjoy my choices, and still look and feel the way I want to, which everybody's is different. And discovering what you want to look like and what you want to maintain, you leave that up to us as individuals.
And you get to put into your programming foods that you enjoy. No one's saying like you got to sit and eat chicken and rice and broccoli 3 times a day every day, you know.
No.
And coming up with that now, and that's a learning curve too, which is why I have the meal prep membership where people can kind of see sample meal plans and you know, I've got the recipes in there and things, because for a lot of women getting more protein in is new. And a lot of women will come to me saying, I eat plenty of protein, but when we actually look at it, they're really only eating half of what they need. And so it can be a little bit of a change over to having more protein. And now when I say that, I don't mean no carbs. Everybody still eats carbs on the planet. It's not a low carb diet, but it's putting all those things into their right place so that we're getting the most out of maintaining and hopefully building our muscle mass, and making sure that when we're losing weight, we're losing fat, and that we're feeling satiated and we're feeling satisfied and we're not feeling super restricted.
I'm talking about sauteed mushrooms. No, that's a stated. How do you spell sauteed? Luna Wolf, you're talking about mushrooms, and I'm like, ooh, sauteed mushrooms.
I love mushrooms as it adds a lot of volume to your food. That's one of my volume things. If you need more volume with less calories in your food, I do marinated mushrooms all the time.
Well, and when you were talking about your food membership program, you have your boot camp membership program. People can subscribe to one or the other or both. Is that
Actually,
correct?
yeah, they can do one or the other. They can do both. So if they decide to do both, there's a special for that. And so I'll be getting information up on being able to do both. Actually, sorry, when they do the boot camp, they get the first 3 months of the meal prep membership for free.
The first 3 months?
The first 3 months are free with the meal with when you enroll into the boot camp. So you kind of get
That's
that along,
amazing.
and then there's a membership that can kick in after if people want to keep doing it.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's amazing. That is
it's
one hell of an
and
offer.
now, every week there's a new meal plan sample, so like a sample meal plan that you can use as a guide, and you can adjust it to your own macros. There's a shopping guide. There's a recipe bank. I do different videos on different ways to food prep, different things, and some tips and tricks so that you can make it work for you, because meal prepping doesn't look the same for everyone depending on how they do it. Oftentimes people think it's like how it looks on Instagram, where it's like a week's worth of containers for every meal, and I don't necessarily prep that way. I don't think it's always the most efficient way, but it looks pretty on Instagram. But there are different ways I prep. Like this week, I have all my meat just in one container, and I take it out to make different things out of that meat. So maybe it's like tacos or a salad or whatever, but I don't have each meal separated out. So there's just
Variety.
tips and tricks. Yes, you have to have variety. You have to make it something that you can set yourself up that this is how you can eat continually for the rest of your life. Not some like super restrictive, I'll do this till I lose the weight, then I'll go back to normal eating, and then I'll gain it back in some. Right? So this is like how to eat, and then how to make adjustments in that when you need to, like, go into a little bit more of a caloric deficit, or if you want to get back into maintenance and just adjusting off of like normal eating.
Normal eating. I have never known that in my life. Normal eat. And this is what I've been striving to do for decades. Normal eating. Luna Wolf says she tried mushroom jerky. I have never heard of mushroom jerky in my life. Have you heard of this, Zena?
I have had mushroom jerky.
What?
I wasn't a fan, but I have heard of it.
The new normal. Exactly, Luna Wolf. That's what I wanted. and I could never get there on my own.
Yeah.
This one right here.
Well, and I think it's a hard expectation to expect people to get there on their own. There's so much misinformation out there, and it can become so nuanced. Like I'm looking at, I don't think this is what people, everyday people can necessarily always achieve for themselves in that nuanced way. Sometimes it's a little tweak, but I have had experience with it. I've been trained in it. I educate myself every day on it. That's not what most people are doing. So having someone to guide you through that and say, hey, we just need to make these little tweaks. Those aren't intuitive to someone who's, all we tend to think about as kind of lay people is just restrict. I'm going overboard. I need to restrict, or just portion control. But then we're not really having success with the portion control. We are not understanding the components to help us get to where we need to go. And it is portion control, but people don't understand that just doesn't, they don't have an involved look at the portions of what, cause something can be very, not a lot of food volume wise, but can be very calorically dense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at Luna. She's talking about these mushrooms and sauces now. She's giving them to the guys for Christmas. What I liked about your program, Zena, is that you asked you asked good questions that made me think, and then it would stay there. And then I have this information with me all the time versus having to guess. And I feel like that's diet culture, is guessing and a lot of being told what to do at the same time, where you asked the questions, you gave us nothing's off the table. This is your decision, what you want to do. And it's like you trusted us to make good decisions. And then if we messed up, which is, I hate that. I don't know what else to call it. Maybe you went off the plan, your own plan a little bit. You were right there to say, well, what do you think happened? And then you let us talk through it, and then we learned from it. Diet culture doesn't teach you how to learn from things.
There's that whole mindset component of the program too, which is to help you identify those limiting beliefs, right? Because those are the ones that we are always carrying with us, that what we bump up against when we fail at something. And so helping people work through like that hard part when it's not new anymore. I always say there's a slog in the boot camp between week 6 and week 8 because it's not novel anymore. It's hard to maintain it. It's not integrated yet. And that's where the voices will start to come up. And that's the opportunity to make the breakthrough, is hearing all of these old patterns and messagings we've been carrying for so long, and then being able to identify them, which you did beautifully all the time, and go like, I didn't even realize that I thought this, or I didn't even make that connection. But now that I know it, I can say, no, I don't want to have that. I'm not choosing that belief anymore. It doesn't serve me. I can now create a different belief pattern, a belief system around something, and kind of resetting your default system.
You taught me how to be better to myself. Diet culture just made me feel like crap and a loser, and you have no will. You're nothing. And it was a pattern again. See, can't do it. See who you know. You went like, I'm proud of you. You made me proud of myself.
Oh, diet culture sets you up to fail. I really have consciously set up so that you succeed and feel empowered and embodied, and like you can own it for yourself.
And that's the you give us the missing pieces that they know what they're doing. And not a fan. I'm going to get my life back. They owe me a life, and it led me straight to you. And I won't go anywhere else. I will not. I will sing the praises of Zena forever. I can never repay you enough for what you've taught me. And that's there now. Like, I can't unlearn it. Like, it's there. And it's made me a better friend to myself. I make better decisions. I feel better about myself. All those belief systems, you tweaked them, and you have me believing in me. Diet culture could never.
Well, and it's hard. I mean, we feed the diet culture beast because we like quick results, and it's like pulling the levers at slot machine. And when you can get it to pay out, you'll keep pulling that lever, even though it's costing you more than you're ever going to get back. And that's the brilliance of that diet culture industry, which again, like I said, we'll feed into, because when we can get that win, it feels so good. And I will have people say, oh, I tried, what I did in the past isn't working now. And it's that they keep trying that same lever. And it's oftentimes because it didn't really set you up for long-term success anyway. And then we, like you said, we think it's about us. We think it's a failure in us, that we just don't have enough willpower, or we don't, I don't feel like willpower really comes into the boot camp when you've really learned to integrate it. It might be new to build the consistency. Might be new to sustain new habits. But after a while, it's not like a lot of people talk about how they don't have that snacking urge anymore. They don't have that urge to go crazy when they have a flex day or whatever, because everything's been flexible to begin with.
Yeah. Well, in diet culture, I always worked harder, not smarter.
Right.
And every new diet that comes out, you're doing the same thing. You're working harder, not smarter. You're just like a one-stop shop. You're not pulling the diet culture stunts that you and I know that what they do. And so, like I said, I don't work with anybody that has anything to with diet culture, because it's not ethical. It's not okay. And this is not what we do to women. This is how we help women. Zena helps women.
This is how we break through barriers. This is how we eat and live our lives and function and feel good.
Which is what we should have known from the very beginning, but we didn't get that. We got diet culture instead as almost like a food babysitter.
Oh, I grew up thinking all women did was diet. That was just what women did. We just diet. That was just expected. All women had to diet to be real women.
To be real, yeah. And you are breaking barriers with this program, like unbelievable. Like I said, I've learned more in 11 weeks than I have in 3 decades. Diet culture taught me nothing. You taught me to work smarter with my time and my energy, and to make some choices that are going to benefit me, but also have fun at the same time. I didn't know that was possible. I thought you were supposed to be miserable and you work out 2 hours a day and you can't have this. And I'm like, this is not how this woman operates. She wants to see you.
Unless I'm in a competition. But yes, outside of that, yeah. Right?
Right.
This is not what we have to do. And every week in the boot camp, you get a coaching video that unlocks. That actually is like an education. Like, you're going to understand why you're doing the things you're doing. And Kitty's watched.
It's so cohesive in the order that you, like, I'm like, this woman knows what she's doing. Because there were days that you and I didn't talk, and I was like, this is why she has me doing this. Because you're a teacher. You're a natural born teacher, and I say guide, but you're a teacher, a coach, but to me, you're my guide. But that just comes natural for you, and you do it well, and you own it. And I love that you're here for women to be better. Diet culture is not there for women. They hurt women. I'm going to say it. They hurt women. Diet culture hurts women. No, thank you.
I mean, yeah, it's not, I'm so glad that there's a way of doing it that exists outside of that. Because I remember for years I was like, well, how does anybody have a fitness journey or do this outside of diet culture paradigm? And this is what it is. And I developed the program too, because I did find it hard to find coaches that, not to say there aren't a lot of good coaches out there. So nobody come at me. I know there's a lot of good people on TikTok or whatnot. But for myself, a lot of coaches that I had along the way were not telling me what to do, and they might be the right things, but they couldn't explain to me or educate me on why. It was just follow the plan, right? And I'm someone that insatiably needs to understand, well, why am I doing it this way? So that I can replicate it for myself, at some point. So I had to do a lot of education over the years, because I simply couldn't find someone that would educate me. And there was a huge component of the mindset that simply was not, people would say that they had mindset in their programs, but it really was more of just like stay positive kind of mental attitude, or, be tough, stay positive. And I wanted something that went a lot deeper than that. And so that's why I created the program, because I thought, that's not what mindset is about. And the work that I've done over the years has really been about identifying those thoughts that become barriers and then having actionable steps that you can take to create a new belief system around that for yourself, which isn't just think positive, because that doesn't convince your subconscious mind of anything. The subconscious mind is convinced by the things that you tell it and the things that you do. So I have actionable steps for hitting, when you hit those mindset barriers, actionable steps to working through them.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're beautifully done. You're not going from 0 to 60. You're going to take those baby steps and ingrain them and slowly take it in, and then it becomes part of you. And that's what I like about that. I want the slower, explain to me and just flow through it. I don't want the rough, choppy waters of diet culture where you're all over the place all the time. I needed something different.
And that's where the true transformation comes from. So true transformation isn't just, did my body change 20 pounds overnight? Because the thing about sometimes the before and after is, yeah, you get to see the before and after, but then you don't get to see the after, which was the 2 years after, where they couldn't maintain whatever that was. Okay. And so they didn't hold that, right? So my thing is lifelong transformation. You're always going to be changing and adapting, whatever, but it's a lifelong transformation of the self, not just of my exterior form, how I think, how I operate, how I walk in the world, how I treat people, how I address things, how I approach a problem. All of that is part of the transformation experience.
I've got Smitten Kitten on here. I've got Migraine Boy. How are you? We're doing good. We're talking about Zena's program that I've been on for 11 weeks. And how much I've learned in 11 weeks through her program versus decades of diet culture, which taught me literally nothing useful for my everyday life. It taught me nothing. But yet I would keep going back to it because that's what you think you're supposed to do, what you believe you're supposed to do. So,
or it worked when I was in my 20s, or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're going to be going live on Sundays starting in January, talking about all types of things. We're going to be bringing it to you live. Again, on Sundays it's going to be 3 o'clock Pacific time, 4 o'clock Mountain time every Sunday.
Right.
Okay.
Every Sunday. I'm going to be coming on live and getting some more content up for you guys about the boot camp, so that if you want to join us in being forever fit and feeling good in your body, you can grab that special before the end of the month and then get started in January or whatever. You get to choose your start date. So you could start tomorrow if you wanted to, but I suggest most people, if you have the holidays, you can start after that.
Your flexibility puts me at ease. I like that flexibility puts me at ease, and I want more of that, to be at ease in my own body, in my own mind every day. You take a lot of the guesswork out too.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I feel like that's my job, is to pull that out so that you can just start to execute a plan, and then with time you're going to start to understand why it is the way it is. And there was a learning curve. We should talk about that at one point. One of our talks talk about the learning curve at the beginning, and that how I tell people, let it be messy at first as you're learning this, because it's probably going to be a bit new for you, and that's okay.
I'm welling up over here, Tim. I don't know if you can see you probably can't see what Tim just said.
Mm-mm.
Tim, it's very rare people get me to cry. Women like you make me feel good about my daughter's future. I would love for her to love herself and find someone that loves everything about her, good and bad. And this is why we do what we do, because we know what it's like.
Yep.
And that's where diet culture came in.
And I raised 2 girls, and my 19-year-old and I are so close. And the fact that she's had some issues in terms of physical limitations with her, and she she wants to do, like I was telling Kitty, she wants to do pole with me. She wants to do lyra with me. The fact that she feels good about herself and that she knows there's healthy ways to get to her goals and that she feels comfortable doing physical things, around me feels good. I feel like I really feel when I see her and her approach to how her own body and what she feels comfortable doing, it just makes me really happy that I have done this the way that I have.
I know what diet culture has done to women. I know what it's done to me. I have 3 granddaughters, and I don't want them to ever suffer about how they feel about themselves. I want them to be empowered and inspired and love who they are every day, not what society thinks they should be with, but who they want to be. So this is why we do this, because we know what diet culture has done to women. We know, and it's a waste not loving yourself inside. So I am so thankful and grateful to this woman for coming into my life and teaching me.
Yes, we could get more to join us.
We need more women to understand that this is something that they're going to learn more in 12 weeks than they have in decades. And that's what we need right now is teachers, coaches, guides to come into our lives to help us for the long haul, not just, you're going to lose 10 pounds in 10 days. This is not what this is about. This is about slowly learning how to be.
Well, and this is about how do you want to be for the rest of your life? And I always tell people are like, I want to, they want to lose it so fast. Where are you going? Like if there's not, obviously some people might have a weddings or trips, but for most of us, like you're going to be in this body for some time. We got time to get to that goal. It doesn't have to happen in, 2 weeks time, 6 weeks time. And even you're going to be continuing on after to continue to do things, after this period. So if we can slow ourselves down and know that if you know that your arrival at the destination is guaranteed, doesn't that kind of just pull some of the stress off?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I can say that anyone who's done the program, that if you don't do the program, it's not going to work. The program works if you do it. And it is something that you can sustain for the rest of your life. And anyone who's really leaned into it and done it, they always have success. The only people that don't are the ones who, kind of quit on themselves too early.
Yeah. Well, they're not given the guidance to continue.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we need, is to be nurtured and guided and coached through that period. And when that period is. There's nothing you don't know when it comes to your own program of this stuff works, and it does.
Right. And some people, the first thing they're going to lose are a lot of negative beliefs. Like sometimes that's the first thing. It's not about losing the weight. It's about losing the mental mindset that has become a prison for them.
Well, you tell people if you get rid of this allows this to come in and it'll work for you. Because I'm me, I'm always going to tell the truth. My trust and people issues or food and people issues that I had. And I was like, you're going to trust this woman. And I was like, I'm going to work out one last day. I don't feel like I'm going to be working very hard. And the results that I have gotten through your program have been, I'm a believer in you, woman. I believe in you, woman. I was like, I don't understand, but I'm going to be doing less.
Extraordinary. I mean, you're eating real food, you're working out, but it's just tweaking it to be the most efficient,
I'm not killing myself at the gym. There's like 4 or 5 exercises that I do, and I'm like, why is this working? How is this working? And you answer those questions. You take the time to answer those questions because my belief system said that would never work. You're not doing enough. And then I'm doing it, and I'm like, well, that was a lie. This woman's telling me the truth. This over here is a lie. What she's telling me to do with my time and you showed me where my waste of time and energy was going and replaced it with something that actually works.
Right. And that's what I do with everyone, is to find out, you have to fit it into what your lifestyle is. So oftentimes the other reason people fail is because they set expectations that they don't have capacity to fill yet. So if you only have a half an hour a day, then we make a program that's based on a half an hour a day. If you are someone who has an hour and a half, 3 times a week to work out at home, then we create it to meet that instead of an expectation of something that is outside of the capacity for your lifestyle to hold at that point. If it grows past that, great. I started out at 15 minutes a day, at home until I was able to do, train the way that I train now. So understanding that, start with that smallest piece you can commit to, let it grow from there. And then also, like, if you have the time, work efficiently. If you have an hour and a half or a half an hour, how you spend that time is very important.
Luna Wolf is saying that every body is different, but we need to take the time to learn about ourselves. And that's what each week I learned something about myself. I learned about a belief that wasn't serving me. I learned where is my time and my energy going, and being prepared and being proactive, and when did I have time to do this, and what could I take away. And again, I was like the mad scientist with my food and my time. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to put this piece here, and this piece can go away here, and I can put that there. And that's what she taught me to do. And I'm like, I've been able, what? This
And
is
it's,
amazing.
I think it's not that so much that people's bodies are different, because I think this program works for anybody. It's how do you understand how the structure, because caloric deficit is caloric deficit. Certain, like all of our hearts beat the same. We have slight differences in our body, but it's really about our lifestyle and preferences are different. So what's going to work for you on your macro plan, food wise, is not going to be what works for someone else. Not because your bodies are different, but because how your lifestyles might be a little bit different. Your preferences might be a little bit different. The time you have available might be a little bit different.
Yeah. And you put those pieces, you help us see and put those pieces together. So, but Luna Wolf, I understand what you're saying about everybody is different. Like, I get what you're saying there. Scientifically, yours is, we all have bodies. We just have to figure out, how do I get you to where you need to be so that you're okay and you've learned and you can carry this through. So that's what I love about this.
And the reason I bring that up is because people think because every body is different, maybe that program works for me and that one works for them, or that. And it's not because your bodies are different. Okay. It's not because your bodies are having like hugely different responses. It's because that structure, which is creating a caloric deficit, is one that sort of meets something you can sustain more than maybe someone else can sustain. I'm trying to get past all of the noise of all of the different trends, because this isn't a trend. This is just like the alphabet. Any diet that's out there that works has put you in a deficit, whether it's been because you created eating windows, or you took carbs out of your diet, or you did this. Ultimately, all of them will work because it puts it in a deficit. I'm trying to help people learn how to create that deficit in a way that doesn't mean that they're over restricting themselves, trying to do something that long term is not maintainable, and understanding how deficits work, because a lot of people will undermine their metabolism because the deficit they're creating is too great. They think when you go into losing weight, it means you eat as little as possible. No, we're trying to lose weight, eating as much food as we can.
Yeah, that freaked me out. When I first started, you're like,
everyone out.
I was like, what? And I'm like, it worked.
Yeah. And so then that gives us buffer if we need to create more of a. So that's just understanding, the ABCs of that, so you can create a program that works for Kitty. And if your body doesn't digest dairy, if that's how your body's different, fine, and you make a plan that doesn't have the dairy in it. However, you meet your protein needs a different way. And then again, your schedule, your goals, how are you going to train is going to be based roughly on your capacity and what you're after. And so it's just learning how to create that structure without depending on this trend or that trend or this trend to tell you what you need to do. And after a while, you're like, I don't want to do that,
Yeah, no, I agree 100% with you, ma'am. I've got one more week to go to complete the 12-week program. Head over to Zena's website. Check it out.
The boot camp is up. I'll be getting the special code up here soon so that you can get the sale price. But next week we'll meet and maybe at this time, and we'll go over your results, and then after that, we'll go switch over to Sundays in January. Yes.
Yes. Perfect.
All right.
All right, everybody. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for being here.
And we'll
Okay.
see you soon.
Bye. Okay. Okay, now I gotta figure out how to.